14 WILI and 95.3 FM presents Hometown Threads, a closer look at our community and the people that make it go. Every week, you'll hear uplifting stories from our local businesses and our neighbors. Now, here's our host for Hometown Threads, Keith C. Rice.
Welcome into episode 90. We'll get a better look at that in just a sec. Sorry, people in radio like, wanting a better look. I'm listening. Episode 90 of Hometown Threads on 14 WILI and 95.3 FM. Of course, Hometown Threads comes your way on the radio every Tuesday from 5:05 to 5:30. Brought to you by Liberty Bank, B Community Kime, with three great local locations. Of course, across the street from the radio station, 679 Main Street, Willimantic. West Main Street, Willimantic at Gateway Commons, and Route 195 in Mansfield, Liberty Bank, B Community Kind. J. Matt Rupar, if you'd be so kind, say hello to the fine folks.
Hello.
And, of course, big thanks to Liberty Bank, and Hometown Threads has a podcast sponsor. If you want to choose to listen at WILI.com, where we have a lot of other great talk programming you can check out as well. Big thanks to Tripoli Pro Clean Services, Mark Tripoli, for sponsoring the Hometown Threads podcast. Now, along with listening to the show, as I said, it airs on the radio first every Tuesday, 5:05 to 5:30. You can also watch the show on several platforms, including the WILI Radio YouTube channel, Spectrum 192, the Keith C. Rice Facebook page, Willimantic Today, and whoever my guest is, and we'll find out who my guest is, although people that are watching this right now probably know who this guy is, maybe not. Anyway, it'll be shared on the guest page as well. So plenty of opportunities to watch it. And, of course, one way to listen to it on the radio and, of course, WILI.com. So, without further delay, let's welcome in our guest from episode 90. I love when guests bring little surprises. We have Mountain Dairy Eggnog, official Mountain Dairy Eggnog. I'm holding it up for the people who will be watching the show or watching the show.
Glass bottle.
Glass bottle. Thank you. That should describe for our radio listeners. It's just beautiful. Let's welcome in Kyle Stearns from D. Kyle Stearns Contracting. Right? Did I get it right?
You got it right.
Get up to the mic there. Don't be shy, sir.
You got it right.
Welcome in.
Well, thanks for having me.
I tell you, once in a while we really get these big fans of WILI, and Kyle's a longtime fan of the radio station. He loves 80s music. He's very familiar with our talk shows as well. I had the honor of DJing his wedding back in July, and I got to tell a quick story. You know where I'm going. When I first ran into this guy, we all know the Stearns family is a huge. I thought the Rice family was huge. The Stearns family, he's got how many cousins roughly? About 85 cousins.
I've got cousins that I know you better than I know them. I mean,
so
a lot.
A couple years ago, we're doing, of course, some of you may know I'm involved with the Knights of Columbus, Council 14 here in Willimantic, and we partner up with the Rotary from time to time. Well, Kyle's involved as a Rotary member as well. Now, I knew who Kyle Stearns was, but I bumped into Tim DeVivo that morning, also a former Hometown Threads guest and a Rotary member. And I go, "Hey, Tim, how are you?" And he introduces me to Kyle. "Oh, you're Kyle Stearns." First thing I said, what did I tell you? Go ahead, you can say it.
Bradley Cooper.
That's it. Even our producer, J. Matt Rupar, agrees with me. You look like Bradley Cooper.
I wish I had his paycheck, though.
I think we all do.
I'd rather have that than his looks.
Oh, geez. But, so tell us about The Hangover. That's a classic, buddy. You've seen The Hangover, right?
Yeah.
Oh, with Mike Tyson. All right, anyway, welcome in Kyle Stearns. Your family is legendary. Thank you so much for the eggnog. Looking forward to dipping into that a little bit later. Well, let's start with who's still running the farm these days. I know we'll get to D. Kyle Stearns Contracting, but tell us, we think Mountain Dairy, we think the Stearns. Give us a little background on the Stearns family.
Well, my cousin Craig's running it now. He's doing a good job. I see his milk. I hear his milk. The milk is, in further locations than it used to be. I was just up there, obviously, getting eggnog, and I ran into him, and he says to say hi. So, I kind of got out of it. I grew up around the place.
Mountain Dairy?
Yeah, I grew up there. As a kid, I started working there at about 9 years old.
What'd they have you doing at 9 years old? Just out of
I knew you were going to ask.
Probably get it on.
Loading empty cases primarily, just loading cases on a conveyor that would go down to the dairy and go into the processing plant. And, I worked there up until probably on and off, like 2013, 2014, right around the time my father died.
Oh.
And, you know, even starting my business, I've been in business for 28 years now. I'm going on my 29th.
D. Kyle Stearns contract.
Yeah,
Even,
yeah.
okay.
So back when I started in '96, for the first probably 10 years of it, I was kind of, you know, I'd get a call, hey, you got to come in, driver didn't show up, you got to do a run, milk run or something like that. So, you know, I was kind of working half and half doing my business. I'd go into the dairy at 4 in the morning.
Wow.
And then at 12, I'd get out. You know, I'd start doing what I had to do. At that time, I was primarily landscaping. You know, I was doing like fall cleanups and spring, you know, mowing lawns and stuff like that.
That was part of your business?
Back then, yeah.
Back then.
And that's what I was doing. And
So you were filling for the family, but
correct, yeah. My
but you
dad
had the
you know,
business going.
Yeah, yeah. My father would always call on me. Just, you know, if someone didn't show up or he was on vacation, I'd have to go in there at 4 in the morning and just kind of supervise, make sure everything was going right, you know. So, you know, I spent a lot of time up there. And, you know, my uncle Jim, you know, I worked with him, my grandfather, you know, the three of us. But my father died in 2014, and my side of the family was either trying to get out or buy it out. And we decided we decided to step away. My uncle died in 21, and he retired from there, I think, in 2015. And my grandfather, he died in 2003. So we were kind of, you know, the other side of the family was, you know, not really going anywhere. Everybody was still alive.
But there were certain parts of the family that the younger generation wasn't sure if they wanted to take it over.
Yeah, correct. And you know, I had my own business, and it was doing good, and it still is. And you know, I wasn't going to go back. And my father and my uncle, I don't think they really wanted me to go back. They kind of wanted me to do my own thing. And you know, in the very really early stages of it, my dad was probably kind of more into wanting me to be there all the time. You know, even my first day at college, when I went to UConn, I went there for 2 years, and the first day of class I actually missed. I was late because my father wanted me to do a milk route, and you know, the way he was is like, this is a family business, you know.
How many generations does Mountain Dairy go back? How far back?
I'm the 10th generation. Yeah.
So let me get that. The business goes back that long?
Yeah, 1871. It started in
1871. Now I'm familiar with the family business. My family business go back 18. Tell us a little bit. This is fascinating. If you can get into a little of this.
Well, my family came here in 1772, so that was 252 years ago.
Oh my God!
And they came here and they did mulberry trees, and they did that for quite a while. They did that. Mulberry trees were they were big in this area.
Was this part of the farm? Or
it was part of everything in Mansfield. Like 75% of the people in Mansfield had mulberry trees and provided silk to the silk mills because the mulberry, the silkworm, was attracted to the leaf, and then it made silk. So basically everything, you know, everybody at, you know, the farm, there were a lot of farmers, and they did mulberry trees, and our farm at the time, it was Stearns Farm. It wasn't Mountain Dairy. That got incorporated in 1871. But
so it started out as just doing mulberry trees.
Yeah.
And then in 1871, tell us how Mountain Dairy came into the picture.
Well, what happened was the mulberry trees, the silk mills started liking the silk coming from China more than, you know, the U.S. silk. And so what happened was it started to slow everything down in this economy as far as silk production. And then, I think it was 1844, a blight hit the silk industry around here, totally shut everything down. So at that time, you know, a lot of like Willimantic, the thread mill, and there was other mills all around, and people were starting to come out of the country and kind of commute to like say Willimantic. And at that time, you know, back then everybody had a cow and a horse, and they kind of were self-contained on their property. But when they started having to go out and get jobs, like say in the city, which, you know, Willimantic talking about, they weren't home a lot. So I think it was my fourth great grandfather, Jared. Yeah.
Fourth great grandfather. This guy's a history buff, by the way.
Yeah,
Can
so
you
my
tell?
fourth great grandfather, Jared, started delivering milk, and people around the neighborhood started liking it.
So that's how
And they
it
started. He started getting requests to do it. So in 1871, Mountain Dairy was, you know, incorporated by Jared Stearns.
Now, not to put you on the spot, but do you know how he came up with the name Mountain Dairy? I'm assuming Jared came up with the name
Well,
Mountain
we're
Dairy.
up on a hill,
Oh, okay, so
so I mean,
yeah,
it's
probably
not really a mountain. It's, you know, it's a
Right.
big hill, but
Big
I
Hill.
don't know if they
I
consider
don't like
that.
Big Hill Dairy. Mountain Dairy.
They'd
sounds
laugh at
better.
it in Vermont. They'd laugh if we said that was a mountain.
Yeah. or like places in Pittsburgh or something like that.
Yeah.
But,
yeah, that's how, you know, that's
wow.
how it got. And then, you know, it was house to house. We did a lot of Willimantic. That was probably our main run back then.
I remember those milk trucks as kids. Oh yeah.
Well, it's
When I was
horse
a
and
kid.
buggy back then. I got pictures of the horse and buggy
Well, yeah, I remember
delivering
horse
on
and
North
buggy.
Street in Willimantic. So
Wow, going
Yeah.
up through the streets of Willimantic on horse
Yeah.
and buggy.
Yeah, and then, you know, it just progressed, and, you know, they had a few fires that they had that, you know,
Well, Mountain Dairy's still going.
yeah, it is strong.
Now, well, I we'll get into your business. We're going to get into your business,
Yeah.
but when was the last time you had to drive one of those milk trucks and do a milk run for your family?
Well, I'll be honest with you. I used to do that every summer.
Like as of recently too? Just
Well, no, when I got out of high school, 16, 17, that was my summer job. You know, all the drivers that went on vacation, I would take their route. And I didn't like it at all, doing a house to house at all.
No.
I mean, yeah, I had to be there at 4 in the morning, and you'd deliver all around town, and I had the Columbia route most of the time. And
you didn't like it because you had to get up that early, right?
no, I wasn't getting up early. I didn't like going to houses. I like doing the wholesale route. I just didn't like going.
What's
to
the
people.
wholesale route exactly?
It's
Just-
going to stores. Yeah.
Oh, going to
Wholesale,
stores.
yeah.
So you actually had to go house to house, put it in
correct.
the the milk box.
Yeah, and I didn't like it. It was, I mean,
Deal with loud
looking
dogs.
back though, you know, if my dad called me up right now and said, "Hey, you want to do it?" I'd do it. You know, but like, it's things you don't realize how much you really appreciate them until they're gone. You know, and that's a lot of life. You know.
So I came back here. You know?
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah,
I grew up in a
yeah,
family
yeah.
business, and really,
Yeah.
I think the older you get, not that you don't appreciate it at a younger age. I just
Yeah.
think you look at life a little bit
Yeah, I get
differently.
up there at 4 in the morning. My first thing my dad would say to me, he's like, "Isn't this great?" He's like, "You got to jump on the world." 4 in the morning, everybody's
And
sleeping.
at that age, like,
and I'd be
okay.
like, I didn't care, but now I know what he's talking about. now.
Exactly.
I wake up at 5 in the morning.
So do I
go
now.
to- I don't even get to work till 7, and it's like my wife's like, "Why do you wake up so early?" Because it's you just get used to
You
it.
get used to it,
Yeah.
and you know I have 3 dogs that I let out, but I did morning show radio for years. That you get up at 3:30, so maybe that's part of it too. But I think the older you get, let's
Yeah.
ask Jay Matt Rupar. He's in his 30s, so he's a little. He's like 20 years younger. What time do you get up in the morning?
6.
Oh, he
There
gets
you
up
go.
kind of early
6
too.
is good.
All right.
Yeah.
So I guess you know it depends. I've become a morning person. You know, I love having my morning coffee,
Yeah,
and then
and I like it too. You know, I like getting up early and getting a jump on the day, and
But-
you're ahead. You know.
back. One more quick question about the milk route and stuff. Because I had a paper route back in the day. I'm not comparing the two, but in a way I am. Were there any dogs? Did you ever get chased by dogs? Were there ever had to be moments where you're like, oh, here comes a dog. I had ankle biters back
It
when.
wasn't really the dogs as much as like there were these old ladies that had been milk customers. I think since it was incorporated.
You're late with my milk, Sonny.
No, it wasn't that. It was like you grab one of their notes, right, and their notes were like yellow because they'd been there for so long.
Right.
Like we just want a quart of milk, whole milk today, and they would just have all these little notes like they would just use half and half today, and it would just they had them like in a file almost, and I'd get running all the way back to the truck, and I'd hear like yoo-hoo, and I'd be like, oh. Then I'd run up. What do you want?
What do you want?
You took my note, and it was always something like that. Oh, here's your note, or
They
you
wanted
know,
the note back?
Yeah, they wanted the note back. So I ran all the way back to the truck, got the
Wow.
note, ran it back.
Well, you were
They've-
getting their-
They've had that note since like 1970 when the other guy was there.
But I thought they're giving the note to you so you could go get.
No, it was like say if you had a note for 1% milk and then one for 2% and like a bunch of notes and you just leave one out in the milk box what you wanted today.
Right.
So it might be 1% today, but the next time you go, they want to. So it's alternating notes.
So they keep track of it.
and they just had them for, they've had them forever, and they have a history of like, oh, I had this note when Alan Slate was the milkman, and it's like, okay. And at a young age, I mean, even now I don't really relate to that, but
So it's good to know Mountain Dairy is still going
Yeah.
strong, and they've been a staple in our community for so many years. I can't wait to have some of this eggnog later. Let's get into D. Kyle Stearns Contracting. You had said earlier that you were doing both there, helping the family business and working at your business. Sounds like you started pretty young. Give us a rundown on how that all came together and how old were you?
Well, I was 23, and I'd grown up on the farm. I ran a lot of equipment, and I always liked playing in the sandbox, and I never stopped. But my dad had me do stuff around there, drainage stuff in the fields, and cutting in swales, and curtain drains, and drainage stuff. So I kind of that was my one.
Looking at your
Well,
face,
it was
didn't
a
seem like-
passion
it
of
didn't-
mine.
Oh, was it? Okay, it didn't
Yeah.
seem like you really enjoyed it for a second.
Oh, I enjoyed it. Yeah.
All right.
It was. I mean, rather than delivering milk, I'd rather be running a machine out in the field.
Okay, so you started to develop a
So I
passion.
started doing that, and then, my family had hired Desiato a lot to do work around there, and I'd always see them coming up, doing additions on the dairy and, grading and stuff, and I always kind of just liked it, and so
So obviously it's before the age of 23, and then
Correct, yeah.
how did the business all of a sudden come together, like at 23 years old, or how did the light go? So I think I want to get my own business. I want to do this, and that. How did you put this together and then get it going?
I mean, honestly, it was 28 years ago. I mean, it just started out with a mower, and then it just progressed into a bulldozer, and it just kind of just kept growing, And
So you do list all the stuff you do.
I'm where I want to be. I mean, if you were to ask me back then who I'd be now, I probably would have said O&G or something. But you kind of get in a niche of what you like to do and where you want to be. And,
So list off the stuff that you do in your company.
drainage, septic, primarily drainage. Probably about 90% is what I do in drainage, and I started doing that about 15 years ago, and I was probably one of the only guys doing it back then. And then with these recent storms we get in the past 3-4 years, I've seen some new guys pop up, but that's pretty much what I do. I do site work, but not a lot. It's primarily drainage and septic and grading, but I'm kind of specialized at this point in my life.
And
my career.
whereabouts you're located in what, Mansfield?
Yeah.
But you'll go anywhere, right?
Yeah, I mean, to some degree. I've worked in Stonington. I've done a lot of work in West Hartford.
How can people get a hold of you and stuff?
Usually
find
on the
you.
web. D. Kyle Stearns
So
Contract.
look you up, D. Kyle Stearns Contracting.
Yeah, .com.
You have a Facebook page? Not
Yeah,
you
yeah.
personally, but does the business?
Yeah, they have a Facebook page. I actually have two businesses. It's Drainage Septic Pros and D. Kyle Stearns Contracting. They kind of run side by side.
Say that other business again.
Drainage Septic Pros.
Okay, so you have two. Wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Basically, I've gone word of mouth. I've gone to Stonington. If people like drainage, I've gone to Mystic. I've done work out in Fisher's Island.
Wow.
I loaded up my stuff and did some work out there on the ferry.
Is it just you, or do you have people working
I have
for
two
you?
guys working for me.
What are their names? Shout them out.
Barry and Dave.
All right. Hello to Barry and Dave.
Yeah.
And also, I know you
they're
meant.
working right now.
Oh, well, I hope they're working. Also, you mentioned word of mouth, but it's also good to be on WILI, and
Yeah.
I got to let the cat out of the bag right now. Looks like the we may have a polka show that's in the works. Is going to be coming back in the new year. And I believe D. Kyle Stearns Contracting will be the sponsor of that Sunday morning polka show, right?
Yeah, in memory of my grandparents.
Go like, get right up there and say in memory of your grandparents and their names were.
Billy and Bill Stearns. And
Tell us all about them. We got a few more minutes here.
well, my grandfather was a big part of my life. He's probably like my best friend growing up. He really helped get me going, and he was a calm person, and we had a good relationship. And
You seem pretty calm. Is that where you get it from, your grandfather?
I don't know if I'm that calm. My dad was a little more higher string than my grandfather. But my grandfather was just an easy guy to talk to, and you know, a lot of times I'd go driving by on a Friday night or a Saturday night, and I'd see him sitting out near the pool. I'd pull in there, and I was on the way to go to a party, you know, with a bunch of friends, and I'd end up sitting there all night talking with him.
That's awesome.
My grandmother, she was a great lady, loved yard work. She liked the polka dance too.
I was about to say, so both of them
they
really.
both did, yeah.
The legendary Virginia
Yeah.
Seretny, the late and
Yeah.
great Virginia Seretny, who did polka bration, I think she called
Correct,
it.
yeah.
Did it for years. I filled in as a teenager, nervous as all hell.
Well, it's funny because I remember my grandfather used to play those big 8-tracks, plug them in there, and then on Sundays, he didn't need them because it was on the radio, and we'd pull in somewhere and he'd be blasting it, and I'd be like, you know, embarrassed, you know, like, I hope no one sees.
But now you look back and it makes you smile.
It's like what I was saying, you know.
Yeah, when you're young, you're
Yeah,
like
now
you're
you're
too
like-
cool for the school.
Now you give anything. Like I'd give anything. I lost my dad, my grandfather, my uncle. They're my three. I miss them every day. You know,
Yeah.
it's crazy.
It's great to know that
Yeah.
you're so close and you continue
Yeah.
to be so, very close to their family. And that brings me to a question I usually ask towards the end of a show. Again, we're with Kyle Stearns here, episode 90 of Hometown Threads, brought to you by Liberty Bank, Be Community Kind on WILI, Willimantic Today, Spectrum 192, and all the other various platforms. But as we come to the end, I know you mentioned your grandparents. You talked about close to the connection you have with your family. Who else would you like to shout out and show love to? People that have played, a big part, made an impact on you, Kyle Stearns.
Well, I mean, Phil Desiato I really respected him, and he was, like I told you before, I idolized him like a baseball player, like Babe Ruth. You know, like he was a guy I thought a lot of. I don't know. There are no Tim DeVivo. He's given me, you know, I've listened to him a lot and business stuff and
Golf stuff too.
I did the golf course over there. Did a
That's
lot
right.
Of
You
work.
did this.
Yeah, we did.
Mention
I
some
was
other
there-
stuff. You did
I
the
was
golf
there for
course?
a year. We flew to place. We did a lot.
So D. Kyle Stearns Contracting was a big part of the revamping of the Wyndham Golf
Yeah,
Course.
I did a lot. I did, we did the 13 acres and back, and I did, grading out front for the driving range.
How about that?
Yeah, so, Tim's been a good friend and a good, a good customer too to me. So, of course, my parents, my dad, my Uncle Jim, he was awesome growing up. He influenced me to, keep doing my business, and keep moving forward. And there's a lot of people, my customers I've had for almost 30 years, and the same ones, and a lot of times it's when you have a business, it's the customers that really make you, because there's some customers that just want to see you keep moving forward and doing better, and that's something that helps you. You need that. You can't be the one-time customer, and I'd rather just be working with a smaller group and of customers and keep going around to the same ones.
D. Kyle Stearns Contracting and the other businesses.
Drainage Septic Pros.
All right, Kyle Stearns with us. Keep up the great work, and looking forward to you sponsoring the new edition of WILI Polka-bration, which will be kicking off Sunday mornings in the new year. I think it's like 9:15 to 10 o'clock. So looking forward to that, having you on board with that as well. And of course, I know you're a big fan of Saturday Solid Gold.
Oh, definitely.
And all the 80s music we play here on
80s is the
WILI.
best, yeah.
And he's checked out J. Matt Rupar's Homegrown.
Yeah.
Friday afternoon. We were talking about that yesterday, homegrown. And thank you for the Mountain Dairy Eggnog. I'm holding it up on camera. Big, beautiful glass bottle. One more question, because we know Ernie Eldridge is coming up next with the neighborhood, so we got to move this along. You got any message for Ernie?
Ernie?
Say hi to Ernie.
I guess I'll say hi, Ernie. See you at Rotary Club next time.
There you go.
I'd like to thank you for having me on here.
Well, thank you,
It's great.
sir. It was great to see you. Great to see you. And give our best to Abby.
I definitely will.
What's the best way you should drink this? How would you drink the eggnog? I know.
Right out of the bottle.
Just right out of the bottle. There we go. All right. Thank you to Kyle Stearns, D. Kyle Stearns Contracting, episode 90 of Hometown Threads in the book. Thank you to Liberty Bank, B Community Kind, Tripoli Pro Clean Services. Thank you to J. Matt Rupar. And in the words of the great Roddy McCumber.
Bye for now, folks. Bye for now.
And that concludes another edition of Hometown Threads. Got a story for Keith? Reach out to him on Facebook by searching Keith C. Rice. Or email him at krice@hallradio.net. Don't forget to tune in next week on 14 WILI and 95.3 FM, as well as the Willimantic Today page on Facebook.